All right, my name is Jennifer Herring, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about sitting at work. Does anyone ever feel discomfort in their body when they're sitting all day working? Show of hands. Excellent, you come to the right place tonight. So, how do you think this guy feels? This is a little exaggerated, but do you think he might feel a little bit of neck pain, or a little bit of low back pain, or maybe some headaches? We can feel pain for a lot of different reasons. And one really obvious reason is when you have a traumatic event where, say, you are in a car accident or you slip on the ice, a sporting injury. But a lot of times pain and discomfort can come about in a more disguised way. Long-term postural habits and movement habits can add up over time and they can start causing a lot of discomfort. So this is how I messed up my wrist. I had a traumatic blow. I slipped on the ice. I fell on my wrist. But for a long time prior to that, I was working at the computer with a repetitive movement, and it made my ligaments a little bit lax, which created more space and instability there. So when I fell on the ice, then I had a much bigger injury than what I would have without that. This is just an example of how those two things can marry together, but you can have one or the other that causes discomfort in your body. This injury actually led me to this profession of osteopathy. I'm an osteopathic manual practitioner, which means I work with people's bodies. It's a manual form of treatment, and it works with all of the tissues of the body. So fascia, which is a connective tissue matrix, muscles, the joints, and it really brings it together so that the body can function better. It's all with the aim to help with better nerve supply and better circulation and to make your body a little bit more resilient to the stresses of life. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to sit and work more comfortably, and it's with an osteopathic perspective. So osteopathy has been around for a long time. It was first founded in the late 1800s by this man, Dr. Andrew Taylor Still. And in Kirksville, Missouri, so it's from the American Midwest. Its treatments and assessments are rooted in anatomy, physiology, and osteopathic principles. So principles are very common in many professions, and there are fundamental truths on how things work and guide you towards how you should work through things. A couple of osteopathic principles that we always work with is that the body is a unit. There's nothing modular in the body. Nothing works on its own without influence from other areas. For another example is that it has self-healing, self-protecting mechanisms. So if you give yourself a little cut on your finger and it bleeds a little bit, your body's going to send the things that it needs in order to heal that cut. But one big thing that we're going to talk about today is motion. And motion is life. You need all kinds of motion in your body. First immediate thought is, going for a run, playing with your kids, on your commute to work, moving forward and propelling your body. And this is done through your muscles and your joints. But we have a lot of inherent motion in our body too. And that's the breath coming in and out of the lungs, the circulation of the body, eating the food going through our digestive tract. And all of these things are important because it's what gives your body nutrition, oxygen, and gets rid of the bad stuff that we don't need anymore. So the opposite to motion is restriction, which is limited or altered motion in the body. And this can happen in any layer of the body, any kind of tissue, whether it's muscles or joints, and it can be really obvious or really subtle. So really obvious restriction is when you're driving and you can't turn your head to check your blind spot. Or you're twisting and you can twist one way much further than the other. Or you can lift your arms up and you can lift one way up to the sky and the other one only goes to your shoulder. But you can have really small restrictions in your body too, and this could be in your tissues, it could be in the small spinal joints or the rib cage. You might not realize that you have those restrictions unless someone's actually working on them. So what can restrictions do to your body? They can result in pain, discomfort, fatigue, nerve discomfort, nerve pain, neuralgia, and a lot of other things. So how can we get from this feeling to something more like this? And more body freedom, mobility, stability, endurance, resiliency, and relaxation. And then we're going to talk about 4 happy body tips to help you with that. So the first tip is to stack. This is really just paying more attention to how you're using your body in space. Stacking is for balance and stability. Poor posture puts more stress on the tissues and joints that aren't really designed to hold the weight of your body. And this causes pain and discomfort and can actually change the shape and function of your tissues. It also makes your body use much more energy. So if you look at our little posture men here, the middle one in the sort of the aqua color, he's stacked really nicely. His hips are over his ankles, the shoulders are over the hips, and the ears are over the shoulders. You can feel the top of the head almost reaching up to the sky. But the two on the side, struggling a little bit. They're having the pelvis sway forward, there's a big anterior curve in the lumbar spine. And this, when the body isn't lined up as well, it takes more energy in the muscles in order to sustain your body in the upright position. It's really about balancing the tissues around sort of a centered line of gravity. So how can we position ourselves a little better? We can start with stacking the body. So whether you're sitting or standing, bringing the ears over the shoulders over the hips. If you're standing, the hips over the ankles. But you want to start on a level surface to begin with. So if you're sitting, take your wallet out of your back pocket. If you're sitting, uncross your legs at the knees or the ankles. You also want to position your workstation right in front of you, so you're not twisting all day in a twisted position. And you want to raise your monitor up so you're not slumping and hunching over into the screen. So our next tip is to move more. And this, whether you stand, sit, kneel, walk, run, juggle, you just want to be moving your tissues, and you want to be moving them often. So the tissue that is used for movement is your skeletal muscles. They're what propels you forward. They're also highly adaptive. So whether you are, however you're using your body or not using your body, the skeletal muscle will change to become more adaptive to that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But it's really the idea of you've got to use it or lose it. So a few ways that the muscles will change are overloading, underloading, overstretching, and understretching. We're going to talk a little bit more about overstretch and understretch. But we have to talk about the muscles to begin with. So each muscle is made up with a bunch of little muscle fibers, and each one muscle fiber is one long, skinny cell. And within those, you have a certain number of contractile units, and those are called sarcomeres. And these little units are the reason why your muscles actually contract. And there's a sarcomere up in the top corner there. With the sarcomeres, they have an optimal length to make the best contraction in the muscle. So if you have a muscle that's chronically long all the time, your body will actually add more sarcomeres and make the tissue longer. But same thing, if you have a muscle that's chronically short, the body will actually take sarcomeres out and it'll actually shorten the muscle tissue, which makes it harder for it to move. So if you look at these big muscles here, this is your iliopsoas muscle, and the psoas is the one that attaches to the lumbar spine at the bottom. These muscles are hip flexors. So you're going to use them if you're lifting your leg up, if you're bending your trunk over your leg. But if you're sitting all day, these are sitting in a short position, and they're very highly adaptable to becoming short muscles. This kind of musculature, if it becomes short when you stand up, you may start feeling it pull on your low back, causing some low back pain. So this is the reason why you want to get moving and use your tissues to their full advantage. Another important thing is that the skeletal muscles actually help you move your fluids through your body. You have a couple low pressure fluid systems in your body, in your circulation, your venous blood, and your lymphatic system, and they need the contraction of your skeletal muscles to help pump the fluid out. So if you have So if you're sitting all day, you need to get up and start moving around to help pump that fluid. If you think about the fluid, particularly in your legs, that's where you're really going to find benefit. The high areas of drainage are behind your knees and in your groin, and these folds of your body you want to move so that you can help pump this fluid back into circulation. So a few tips on how to move better. Move and change your position before you start feeling discomfort. Keep walking, stretching during breaks, take walking or standing meetings just to mix it up a bit. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. And set a reminder on your phone or your Fitbit just to get up and move around if you have a trouble remembering. So tip number 3 is to breathe. So breathing or respiration is very important because we need oxygen. Oxygen is really important for our energy. It helps break down the food that we eat, and it's important for making energy on a cellular level. The organ that we use for breathing is our lungs, and below our lungs is the respiratory diaphragm, which is that domed muscle on the right-hand side there. This muscle is going to help pump the air into your lungs, but it also helps pump those low-pressure fluids as well. As you take a big inhale, the diaphragm descends, it comes lower in your body, and it helps increase the pressure in the abdomen, which squeezes the blood up. This is important because you want this blood coming back up in your body to re-nutrify and re-oxygenate and come back into your circulation. So a few tips on how to breathe better. The first biggest one is to take a few minutes a day and pay attention to your breath. Good thing to do before you go to bed or after your lunch break or if you're in a very stressful situation. A couple of things I like to suggest for helping you pay attention to is put a hand on your sternum or your breastbone and one on your abdomen just below your ribs. And when you take a big breath in, you'll feel your sternum rise and your tummy will come out as the diaphragm descends. As you exhale, your tummy will come in and your sternum will drop. You can also put your hands on the side of your ribcage and feel it expand laterally. And then the fourth tip is to maintain, because as Benjamin Franklin once said, it's an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So it's good to be preventative and tune up your body like you're going to tune up your car. Restrictions in the body can make your body work a little differently, and it actually can make you a little bit more susceptible to injury. So it's good to get those taken care of earlier than later. Improving your posture, movement, and breathing will help, but sometimes long-term restrictions will need a little bit of help from a professional. So how can you get started? You can come see me, and you can check out to see how you can gain more mobility in your body. Tonight, I have a perk for you. If you book in for an initial treatment until the end of March, you'll get $30 off. Or check out Scott at the refreshment table. He has an iPad there where you can sign up to win a free initial treatment. That's my contact info. Thank you very much. Yes. So with all different manual therapies, the main difference is possibly techniques that they'll actually use to treat the body, but mostly in the approach and in treatment. Each modality treats in a different regard or different way, and is mostly about sort of the philosophy and how they approach the body. Yes.
What is the single most thing that you find when you have a problem that people that sit at their desk all day, mainly developers, present in your office?
Usually low back, hip type things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anything's going to go, that's the first indicator, probably.
That and neck is often also just looking at the computer and having the head tilt forward. But oftentimes the low back and hips with sitting funny, crossed legs, jutting onto one hip.
as I have to cross my legs. And does, like the type of chair that we sit in, does that help at all? Or does it really contribute a lot?
Yeah, there are going to be definitely chair setups that will be better for your body versus someone else's body, but definitely changing positions, getting out, moving around, just so your tissues are moving would be.
But I mean the type of chair though, like sitting on one of these types of chairs all day is probably not the best idea, but sitting on something with, I guess, more support, it does contribute to better health. I guess.
Something that's built for your size,
Okay.
but most importantly, getting up, moving around,
Okay.
not staying in the same position all the time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.